I started out not knowing that academics would be where I would land up, but I had an example at home. My mom was teaching in a school that I went to as a kid. And then she ended up becoming a language professor in a college that the school turned into. We come from, like many people who I know, a lower middle class family. And it was important for us to be able to get the education part taken care of. And the reason my mom joined that particular school was because we would get free tuition in what they called in those days an English medium school, which is what she felt was important for us. And so even then, it was not sufficient to take care of the household with all the demands that were being placed on the family. So she would give tuition to privately to kids outside of the school. And I used to help her out by giving tuition to people one grade below me because I had already finished the grade. And I used to enjoy it. From 3:30 when we come home until 5 o'clock, I would help her out with the tuitions. And then at 5 o'clock, I'll go out and play with my friends. And so the journey continued for a while. Then I left, I joined Little Flower High School and then went into college, got my degree, got my MBA, started my job. A strange thing happened where in Hyderabad, JNTU, where I went to for my engineering, they reached out to me and said, our MBA professor who was supposed to teach marketing strategy has dropped out at the last minute. And would you be willing to teach that class? So my boss at that time at ORG Systems, N.K. Jain, is a stellar individual. A lot I learned from him in the process. And he said, well, they are our client, and if there is a chance that you can help them, please go do it. I did it. Class went very well, and they came back and said the students asked if you could teach one more class, which I did. And as I was doing it, I started understanding that that was more fun to me than my day job. So I decided to get a PhD, came to Ohio State, and then all of it followed after that. That's actually a very good question because it's not something I would have been able to answer 30 years ago because I didn't know what was going to happen. But as life progressed, one of the nice revelations that I experienced was that nature poses problems. They are neither quantitative problems or quantitative problems. They are not physics problems. They're not chemistry. They're just problems. And what is most important is to be able to structure the problem because the solution can be derived using some frameworks. But a wrong solution comes when you structure the problem wrong. And therefore, one of the biggest things that you would need to do as, let's say, any individual who is in charge of any project is, do you even understand the problem? For that, what you need is not a quantitative skill. It's more of a, do you understand what it is that you need to solve? Now, quantitative techniques do help because one of the beauties of mathematics is that it somehow brings everything together into some small equations. As they would say, the entire blood flow in the human body can be represented by one differential equation. And that type of knowledge is very important because you have frameworks to land on. But I realized as I was starting to take some courses in PhD that how the human mind works is perhaps the most important thing for me to understand if I want to do anything in management. When you talk about investor psychology, we think it's a very quantitative process. Well, it actually depends on that particular investor who is thinking what they are thinking at that point in time. The buy or no buy is still a binary decision. It's not a continuous decision. So they are succumbing to whatever contextual factors are guiding their behavior at that time. And so I realized very quickly that quantitative tools are just tools. What you need is a formal understanding of a problem. And for that, you need to understand economics and psychology and sociology and including philosophy and Bhagavad Gita. All these things help you get to where you want to go. Oh, that's a great question. I think coming from a marketing background, one of the things that you first start with is what is actually the consumer interested in. We are only offering a certain number of degree programs. And I have said this, and it'll come up multiple times in our conversation. A lot of people confuse the degree program as a product in itself. And from the day I came here, and including my state, Ohio State, I've been telling people that the degree is just a packaging. The product is the knowledge and skills that you're giving the students, and how you package can change over time. That's why we have 1-year degrees and online degrees and MBA degrees and whatnot. So you're packaging them differently, but it's the same content that you're using. So one of the things we discovered is that the world is shifting. After the 2008 financial crisis we all experienced globally, a lot of fear started happening in people. They didn't want to leave their job and get an MBA, because that was the path to success for many, many years. If you look at 80s and 90s, that's what people did just routinely. And so the market shifted to people who are not interested in leaving their job, but still wanted to get their degree. And so part-time MBA programs started picking up. However, the part-time MBA programs also require you to be at a given place at a given time repeatedly over a 3-year period. That itself is a luxury for some people, because they have household responsibilities. The place where you are congregating is probably 40 miles away from where they are. The journey itself that they have to do every day takes a lot of time. And so there was a gap in the market that was not being properly addressed, of very qualified individuals, doctors and senior managers, who just don't have the time to go to a place at a given time. And that's when we, as a faculty, came together and decided that it would be probably a good idea to start thinking about an online MBA. Now, the beauty was that there's nobody in this, it's UC Davis doing anything online at that point. None of the UC business schools was doing anything online. When we started thinking about it, there were only about a dozen schools doing online MBA. The most prominent were Indiana and North Carolina. Otherwise, really not much was going on. So there was skepticism, what's this guy bringing to us? But our faculty have been very broad-minded in many ways and have helped me immensely. So when we got it through the system and launched it, a lot of people didn't think that was a good idea, because they thought there would be brand dilution. But pretty quickly, we showed that that was the right thing to do in today's market. So it's discovering those market segments and catering to what it is that their pain point is and solving the problem for them. That's the approach we have followed. And more things are happening now. I will mention to you as we go along that we have just gotten approval for offering our MBA in the form of stackable certificates. That's a big deal, because it's a very different way of educating people, but once again, it reflects a changing environment, where the corporations are, where the government is, where the people are, where that's what we should be catering to. At the same time, we should make sure that we do not sacrifice the academic rigor in what we do, because that's what we're known for. The moment we start giving in, we become like everybody else. It's not worth it to come to UC Davis then. So our faculty have been really very, very helpful in making sure that the academic rigor is maintained. But we cater to the markets that are changing with products that are more relevant to that market, rather than stick to our programs and degrees and do only that. So that's actually an interesting question, because one of the insights I share with my colleagues, and I share often with people outside as well, is many times we look at segmentation of the market in terms of grouping people. And so we say that there are people who are interested in, let's say, fuel efficiency of a car. There are people who are interested in the performance of a car. There are people who are interested in the luxury value of a car, and so on. we almost treat them like they're different groups of people. One of the major insights that we started with was, no, that's fine. There are segments like that, but a given individual, depending on the situation, may represent more than one segment. So it's possible that you are today saying that I don't like online, but it's possible that there is a 3-month period in your life where you're so busy with a bunch of things that you wish you could take the same class online because you don't want to go all the way. So depending on the circumstances, an individual can be very different in what they want. Once you understand that, then the understanding is that we are not catering to different groups of people anymore. The same individual may say, I want to take online classes this quarter, but classes offline, maybe in person the next quarter. The third quarter, I would take one class online, but the second class I want to take in person. So they are now telling us how they would like to learn, and they want the flexibility. Our job is to make sure that we can provide them with that opportunity without sacrificing quality. And to do that, what we have done is anything that we offer online, our section size is limited to 20 students. So there is significant dialogue between people. We actually give them asynchronous content that requires them to do group work and present it when they come to the class. And many people who have come to the campus after taking the online class behave like they have known each other for a long time, even though the classes they took were online. Just because they were in small classes, they interacted as much as they did. So what we are trying to do is to give you a buffet, and then you take what you want when you want in your life, because your life situations sometimes determine what it is that you want. Now, the contradiction there is sometimes people say, well, doesn't it mean that you are basically catering to what they want rather than you determining how they should learn? Well, that's the wrong way to look at it, because I'm not determining how they should learn. I'm determining what they should learn. That's more important to me. How is their life? I don't want to come and tell them, if you can't do this, you don't have a degree. And you will be surprised that when I talk to my online MBA students, every one of them will tell me that if we did not have an online, they would never have done an MBA. Up to the last person. And that's what we are really excited about, and so what happens is, you're right when you said that there is this desire to have classes on premise that's cropped up again after COVID. Well, we have our part-time MBA students who are taking classes, and now they are actually taking more classes online, even though we offer the same section in person. So it's changing the dynamics a little bit, but we just want to be there with the right product for them, so they will take it from us. So the size of the program can be more than 20, but the section size is 20.
Okay, got it.
Right. So we do take about 150 to 200 students a year into the MBA program. We break them down into 7-8 sections. So they will take classes in a more intimate setting. The second thing is, when we switched into online during COVID, the way we did it was just to go on Zoom. And whatever platform, if you're standing and teaching in the classroom, we try to do the same thing on Zoom. That's different from the ground up version of developing an online experience, where you plan out the entire course and split it into what can be asynchronous and what can be synchronous. So this inverted classroom that everybody was talking about, previously you just stood there and lectured, which is what I did when I started my career. Now the lecture material is mostly asynchronous. The classroom is much more dynamic, interactive. You make them work on things, and that's how they learn how to apply what they have learned offline. So it's designed ground up, and the experience is fairly substantive. It's a good experience for them. And we get very high positive feedback from our students on the experience they're having in the classroom. Of course, they also enjoy the experience outside the classroom when they come to various places where we host what we call residentials. But the classroom experience is built very carefully to mimic what we do in the regular classroom. And so we have a part-time MBA, a full-time MBA, and an online MBA, and the fees are exactly the same for all of them. It doesn't matter if you take it, because you can take an online MBA, but if you feel like taking a class on premises, you can come and take it. It's the same faculty member teaching the same class, same spot. If you miss a class, you can take a class in another location and make up for it. So the experience is the same across all these things. So I was in the classroom 40 years ago in Calcutta. And since then, I have come there and gave a few lectures here and there. There is a substantial difference between what I went through and what's going on today. When you take a look at the publication records of faculty in these institutions, I was looking through the Financial Times top 100 schools and research, and there are Indian schools that are appearing in that. And there are several schools I know here which are not appearing in that list. And so, yes, Indian schools are really starting to get very conceptual about what they're teaching. There is quite a bit more corporate interaction within Indian schools. There is a good blend of academics, because there are faculty members who are going back because there are opportunities in India now that we didn't have when we were pursuing our careers. And so I think there is a significant positive development that has taken place over the last many years. I think yesterday somebody was giving me a statistic that if you looked at the people who graduated from IITs or something and looked at how many of them went abroad, in a particular IIT, I think it was 50% about 30 years ago. Today it's 15%. So the people are staying back in India because there is a lot of opportunity there. The things I have noticed, though, are there is still a style in most business schools where the professor just lectures and the students accept it and take notes, and the exams are not very applied, stretching you. And so if there is a way that we can make it a little bit more balanced in the classroom, where the students are able to question the faculty member in a polite way, not that way. Say, I'm not able to get it because in my job, this is how we did it, and what's the difference between what you're teaching and what I'm learning? That type of stuff. That interaction doesn't happen very much in the classroom. And if there is a way to formalize that and train teachers to do that, because I'm not talking about the top 5 or 6 institutions. They're always wonderful. But if you go into a city and there are multiple MBA programs being offered, the MBA degree is being put on them, and MBA is an MBA. Right. You can't say that you have learned any less going to a smaller school compared to a well-known school, because that means that it's not an MBA. But you are giving them an MBA. The universities, the Indian government is saying that, yes, they're qualified to give an MBA. So they should have learned the knowledge. And I don't think that's happening in all the places. That's one of the things. The second thing is, so when I look at the schools, so let's see what happens. If you take a look at the school that you went to, Wharton, they are very good at finance, and they've been known to be a finance school. And at some point in the last 10 years, they said analytics is picking up, and they became really one of the authorities in analytics. But you can see the faculty coming together and developing an identity for the school.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't think we have that type of action in India. It's mostly driven by the dean or director, and whatever happens, and there is no real buy-in because the faculty truly. So if you think about it, there are 2 groups that really give the reputation to a business school. One is the faculty, and second is the alumni. The rest of it is in service of those 2 groups. And so the faculty have to play a much larger role in determining what happens in the institution. And I don't think in India that's happening. It's just just come teach, and then if and so that's something that we have to
Got it.
see if
Fair
there's a
point.
way to address that. Yeah. The third thing is that so when somebody gets into an MBA program, when we all went through our MBA programs, as you know, and that was true not even in the United States, you went there right after your undergrad degree.
Undergrad.
And I did have people in my class who had 2 or 3 years of experience, and I could see how much more mature they were in the classroom. And I think there has to be some better way of figuring out who the students are that you would like to bring into this. Because we are a small full-time MBA program. There are only 45 students every year. We can always make it 90. But our acceptance rate into the program is one of the lowest in the country. And the reason we do that is because we want a certain type of student who we know will do well when they graduate. And that filtration is still not happening as much in many of the schools in India. And if there's a way to make sure that we don't just go after the numbers and revenues, but go after building these leaders into the future, that would be very, very good. But I would probably say that there are probably 150, 200 schools in this country who do exactly what I'm talking about. So I think if there is a way to lift the incoming class somehow, that would be a good thing. But I think overall, I'm very impressed with what's being achieved in India, because the faculty members there are as good as the faculty members here. If they're given the right opportunities, and if they're given the right environment, they will make every school every bit as good as a school anywhere else in the world. One of the first things I would say is the administration is fully supportive of everything we do. I have had greatest time dealing with our administration. Our provost is a fantastic lady. Chancellor is a great guy. And it's easy to work with them because there is a shared value system here. And so I am absolutely lucky to say that I can work with them as well as we do. The access issue always comes up. And I think the filtration that we do is based on a couple of factors. One is, do you have the ability to get through a curriculum that we are putting in place? Because so just think about the MBA. The problem with MBA is it's all or nothing. So you join your MBA program at the end of the third quarter, which is you spend half your money, a lot of life time into that. You didn't make it, we kick you out and then you're gone. So you're down quite a bit of money and you have nothing to show for it. So why would I want to do this disservice of bringing somebody into the program who may not make it in the program? Because it's academically rigorous. And that's how we distinguish ourselves. We don't want to sacrifice the academic rigor. Now, one of the interesting things is, if you take the full-time MBA program in any school, they tell you that this is how many academic credits you need. But the part-time MBA program requires fewer academic credits. And then the executive MBA requires even fewer academic credits. And that's because they say that they have experience and so they don't need what we do. Our faculty said, no, an MBA is an MBA and this is how many credits you need. Irrespective of what MBA you go through, you still need the same credits. So there is this notion of bringing in the right student, because you are deceiving that student by bringing them in if they are not academically qualified. So that's the first part that we make sure that we do it. The second filter we use is the culture filter, because we are a very strong proponent of what we call collaborative leadership. We believe that collaboration is not teamwork. Teamwork is just one aspect of it. Collaboration comes with this understanding that I respect what you bring to the table when you come here. So when you come to the table here and you're asking me the questions, I treat them very seriously, because the understanding that you have of the Indian market and what you have accomplished over the last 10 years is nothing there's nothing that I know that you know already. And so I have to have that respect for who you are as a person if we are able to work together. And that respect means I have to be able to see that in the student, in my conversation with the student. I have to see that in their past behaviors. So if we don't find that kind of a person, we would rather have a smaller program than bring in somebody who disturbs that culture. And so those two filters are what we use normally.
Okay.
And there are many students who we have lost, who are academically qualified, high GMAT scores, all that stuff, that this won't fit here. They will bring an attitude that will destroy the culture we have built. And it's also interesting that the people who come in comment about the culture we have built here. So that kind of leader is whom we want to train, and we don't care what the person comes with from a background perspective. If they are economically disadvantaged, we help them in as many ways as we can. We give some of the largest fellowships when we find the right person who says, I just can't afford it. So we do everything we can to help the students who deserve to be in the program and improve access. Now, the online is our way of improving access. Now, the access question, the scaling question comes up because we launched a program 2 years ago, first as a pilot, and now we have been given permission to expand it. This is exactly the type of stuff we do for increasing access. The program is called Deferred Tuition Plan. And what that is, when you went to your MBA program, of course, those days tuition was still low, but now we're talking about, Wharton has just launched an EMBA. It's $220,000, $230,000 online. So let's say that's what I'm asking you to pay, or even $100,000. Well, there are many people who still find $100,000 very difficult to pay. So what we are saying is you pay your first $50,000 because we want to make sure that you are committed to the program. And the second year of your program, you stop paying the tuition. And then you complete the program, you get your job, settle down for 6 months. After that, you start paying back what you borrowed from us, technically, or what you deferred, not borrowed, with no interest. So now you are actually making it accessible to people. And we are finding that 30 to 35% of the class that is coming in is making use of that plan that we have put in place. That's access for us, to be able to give you something that you need when you need it, and not just indiscriminately just scholarship you just because we want to get some numbers. So we still are sticking to the people who we want to bring to the program, but we're making it easier for them. Well, as you know, the full-time program is the one that actually has something to talk about. It is always kept under 50%, and we try to normally go around the 40% point. In a small school, with 45 people, we are talking about 16 to 18 people who are international students. They bring a lot of value when they come to the classroom. They come with experiences that are different. They come with perspectives that are different. A culture that a lot of people respect. It enriches everybody. It simultaneously has a small issue that we all face, which is it's getting harder and harder to place international students. Although we are a STEM designated MBA program, like many programs, they do have 3 years of OPT. And so we have to balance these two to make sure that we do not bring somebody into the program whom we may not be able to place. Because if I open up the spout a little bit, I can make the program entirely international, get 100 students very easily. They pay the full tuition and then we're done. But that doesn't feel right. We feel very obligated to our students, and so we keep it at that percentage. Now, on the other hand, we have our Masters of Professional Accountancy program, where we bring in only about 10 to 15% to our international. Everybody's domestic. Now, contrast that with Masters of Science in Business Analytics, where the interest is actually coming from international students, and it's actually very heavily dominated by students from India.
Okay.
But that program is so hot right now that we normally get 100% placement in the program. And we also have been recognized by QS as the highest return on investment that students can get in the world for the program. So we strategize and make sure that whomever we bring into the program is somebody that has a future. And so balance it. So yes, the positives they bring to the classroom are the perspectives and the diversity, the way they think. The issues we have to address is don't bring them here because they pay you tuition, bring them here because you want to give them a career. And how do you make sure it happens? That's a very good question, because this was something I struggled with for a long time myself. I honestly always believed that having engineering as my background, that the MBA actually was a shell that we built around a core. And if you don't have a good core, then if you have, for example, an undergraduate degree in business and an MBA, I don't know if you really have built a core for that person. There's no real passion for anything other than just doing business. So I always struggle to figure out how to make sure that the individual who comes into the MBA program has a core that they respect. I'm a biology person. I am a chemistry person. That core knowledge gives me an opportunity to apply it in the context of the knowledge I have gained. So what we did here is not to give a general MBA. I can get an English major who has 5 years of experience, walks into the business school, gets an MBA. Well, what exactly does the student know at this point that can help him or her run a business? So what we decided was, let's do it completely differently. This was 2016, my first work with our faculty coming together. We saw that every school out there is focused on a discipline. When you think about MIT operations, when you think about Wharton finance, when you think about Northwestern, it's marketing, accounting is Illinois and Texas Austin, that type of stuff. We said, we will do it differently. We will actually go deeper into what an MBA can contribute. The first thing we learned is that we are teaching MBA students team skills all the time. They have to work in teams. Well, what exactly are those teams composed of? Well, they're composed of people who are from R&D. They're composed of people who are in other areas of the company. And they're not MBAs, they're scientists. And so how do you ensure that our student actually works well with people who are from a different discipline altogether? So we created what we call industry immersions. Now, that's where we said we will actually bring in students who have passion for an industry. Then MBA that has a passion is a great choice for a company. A regular MBA with really, I can apply the same techniques to a dry cleaning store chain or against a hamburger chain. No, you don't have any emotion to work with that particular company. So what industries make sense? Well, UC Davis is #1 in the world in food and agriculture. So we said these food companies are out there and nobody's really catering to them other than providing them with a brand manager. Well, that's not the person I want. I want the person who actually cares about what food is being made by the company. So we created a food and agriculture industry immersion. And we are actually attracting students who have backgrounds in food and agriculture and nutrition and other things to join our MBA program. And they are giving up their opportunity in other higher ranked MBA programs because those programs don't have that. So we are now developing a set of people who are very passionate about the industry they're going to. They have the science background before that, and they have a set of experiences that we built in our programs to make that passion meaningful to them. So they're big contributors. We are placing people in companies which are the new age companies. When you think about the wonderful food company, that's something that most people don't think about. And they think food, they think Nestle, they think about P&G or whatever. We are now placing people in the Impossible Food or Beyond Meat, those new age companies, because that's what they care about. They're passionate about it, and they can work with those scientists. So the classrooms that we created for these immersions are not just for MBAs. The MBA students actually are joined by PhD students from those disciplines.
Got it.
And the executives who come to the class actually give them real cases to work on. These are very senior executives, presidents of companies coming and saying, hey, here is a problem. How would you go about solving it? And the interdisciplinary teams come together, the scientists working with the MBAs, lawyers working with the scientists, and they come up with solutions. That is really, really changing the way an MBA is being perceived. So I think the answer is, if you just give an MBA and think it's a degree that can be independent of everything else, those days are gone. An MBA has to become interdisciplinary. The student has to be taught how to work with people who have a science background and therefore solve these big problems that we are going to face in the future. Not another flavor of yogurt or chips or something. That's not the problem anymore. Is chips the right product? Is the question to ask. And say, okay, let's change that. If I'm Lay's potato chips, I will change the brand completely into something different because I have the brand strength. How do you think like that? How do you work with the scientists to change the nutritional value of what those chips are not able to deliver? That's the student we want to create. And that's going to be the one that will be respected in the future. That's a great question, because that's the culture I talked about. When they walk into the building, they will notice that everybody is wanting to learn. They are humble. They understand that they are one small part of the solution. And the real solution comes only when you work with a group of people with different perspectives. And so the culture is what we built in. The teaching that happens is along those lines. The classes we teach have that. So the food and agriculture. Now we have other immersions as well. We have one on clean energy. As we said, the future is not just energy, it's clean energy. So they discuss different kinds of business models and stuff. And the classroom has them and people who are doing the PhD in environmental engineering, environmental sciences, and energy efficiency. These are the people who join them in the classroom. And we have all the new age companies teaching them stuff. So the person who comes here already would read about that on our website and understand, Person Quant's featured that as one of the innovations in the business school arena. We got recognized multiple times over for that type of thinking. So people come in, they go through the admissions process, they get interviewed. Many of them come here, and I actually meet with almost every student who comes to join the full-time MBA program, because I want to make sure that they understand what we are about. And I always tell them, there is no compulsion for you to come here, but this is who we are. And if this is not what you're looking for, tell me, and I will tell you which place you can go to, because I don't want to bring you in here just because I want some money from you. I want to make sure you succeed, and I have to provide the right situation for you. So that culture has been generated, and it's California. There is something about the people here because they do care about the environment. They care about people. They care about the little person out there who needs help. It's quite a bit of that compassion in Californians that I haven't seen in many parts of the world, actually. So it just makes it easier. It's with the grain. When you say these things, you're not seen as a lunatic. You're seen as, yeah, you belong here. That's how we're thinking it. So it makes it easy. There are two things going on. One is, of course, we have career support that every business school does, and then we, interact with companies. We bring them over here, or we take them over there. The students. We are a small school. Davis is about 1.5 hours away on a good day from San Francisco, and so companies may not want to come all the way to Davis just for 45 students. And so we try to make these relationships so our students actually go wherever they need to go. The thing that we are doing now, which is more looking into the future of the students, there are two things we are working on. One is that we are the only school I don't know about the rest of the world, but I know that in the US, we are the only school that if you were a graduate of our MBA program, and if you wanted to take another class in the MBA program after you graduated and you are 65 years old, it's still free for you. You can walk into any MBA class for your entire life after you graduated, and it's free for you. That's number one, which means if you want to retool, if you want to remember some stuff, then you don't have to wait and, I have to pay money, nothing like that. You're welcome. That's right, come back. That's one. The second thing is we are launching, hopefully in October, a platform where, because we have this fantastic online MBA program, our faculty have recorded multiple videos to be given to students in the asynchronous mode. And these touch upon multiple topics. Now, for example, it could be time value of money, or it could be, how do you explain share value? How do you valuation, for example, or what is the weighted average cost of capital? How do you do that? So there are lectures that they have put together, and there are about 900 videos touching upon multiple topics. We are putting them on a platform, and we are making them available to all our alumni for free, forever. Which means every time we update those videos, you still have the most updated material. Even if you cannot come and sit in a class, as an alum, you can go and listen to the lecture. And if you want more clarification, you can always write to the professor who will spend time with you to give you the information. That's one way we are taking care of our alumni. The second thing we have done is to partner with edX. And then we have all their certifications behind a paywall, and we are charging them a nominal fee for the whole year to access all those certifications. So lifelong, you'll actually be able to get the most updated certifications you need to progress in your job. We did teach blockchains 5 years ago, but if it's become a big thing, then I have a blockchain certification that my alum can take and then get a career advancement. So these are the two things we are doing to support our graduates, in addition to all the placement services that all of us do, just to make sure that you are never left in the lurch when it comes time to having knowledge. You have access to all this material. I think one of the things that I want to highlight here is when I said that they can come to any class and take it for free, there is no way I can do it by myself. It is the faculty who have to say, yes, this is the right thing to do. And I'm very blessed to have the faculty that I have. And then there has to be the staff that supports this by registering them into classes. So I'm very fortunate to have a group of people that I work with who actually enable these things to happen. Otherwise, ideas are ideas. That's a good question, because it'll obviously be subjective. It is, although I have talked to multiple students, the advice is probably free of any context. It's timeless. It has to be something you want to do. Don't try to get an MBA because you'll make more money, because then money is the byproduct of a good job. And you have to understand that, because if you make a lot of money but you're not happy in it, it's not worth it. You only live for so many years. So do an MBA because you really want to get into that type of a life that you will have, which is managing people, working with people, having instability in your job, challenges, doing something meaningful, politics of organization, all that stuff. The second thing is that an MBA, I think, even today, is the most versatile degree of any degree that's offered by any university. You can compare that with, even within the business school, there are multiple degrees offered, but the confidence that an MBA gives you to do things is very different from, a master's in biological sciences, engineering, or agriculture, whatever it is, it's different. And so, if nothing, you will walk away with a ton of confidence when you get an MBA, because you kind of understand how things work. okay, there are five areas normally we speak, and those are the 5 areas I manage and stuff. So it's a good degree to have, despite all the noise that you hear about an MBA not being worthwhile anymore, and all. That's not true at all, because there is still significant ROI to an MBA if you get the right kind of MBA and you start with the right attitude. And if you just do it because, I think I'll get something and then join a company and make money, it doesn't get you there. The third is that it's been talked about for a long time, and many deans will talk about it when we go to conferences, that the students start out with this feeling of entitlement, that if they go to this rankings game has spoiled quite a bit of experience, because the student who goes to the 11th ranked school feels that they're not in the top 10 ranked schools and they feel inferior. Well, no, there's no real way to compare schools like that. Each school offers you different experiences, and so how do you put them on the same scale? And therefore, don't go into a school with that feeling of entitlement. Go there honestly to find answers to those questions. What is it that bothers you when you're working wherever you are? It's possible that I haven't figured out how to do proper branding. How do you even brand these things? If I wish I can learn that. Well, yes, that's an answer an MBA can provide you. Or I want to think about starting a company, but I don't know where to start. How do I get there? So start with a real passion in you to learn something. Otherwise, why get an MBA? What are you trying to do with it? So that's one of the things that I tell you. And the third is, do spend time looking through what the institution is saying about what they do in the program. Because if you just take rankings and go after whatever you think is the top school, and then I got an admission from the 23rd school and 25th school, I'll go to 23 because it's better ranked. No, that's not what it is. Look at what they're doing. We had a student who was admitted in 3 Ivy League schools and rejected them all and came here. And he said it's because I like the culture that I saw here. Now, it's not that their culture is bad or anything. For him, this culture was a better fit. So that fit makes a big difference, because when he graduated, he had 7 job offers. And that's what we need. Once the fit is there, you'll be a happy person, you'll do well. It doesn't matter where you go to. So think about the fit between you, your culture, and your understanding, and the school you're going to. Those things really help you choose the right program. But again, don't do an MBA just because you think it'll give you more money, because you'll not get there. You'll not know what to do. Do it because it's burning in you. You want to understand how these things work.